Hi, it's Mrs. Flores here, and I just wanted to quickly share a story with you and just let you know that I've just loved my time here at Series, and you can share this with your students and just let them know. I just wanted to let them know that you all have a special place in my heart and wanted to leave you with this fun Irish story kind of around St. Patrick's Day. So here I go. And this story is called Finn McCool. And I'm gonna go ahead and start. It is well loved. It is a family. It is a book from my house, and I've had it for a long time. So forgive the appearance. In olden times, when Ireland's glens and woods were still filled with fairies and leprechauns, giants too lived on that fair Emerald Isle. One of the finest of those big folks was Finn McCool, who was wed to the lovely great lass Ona. They made their home on top of Knockmany Hill. So here's Ona and Finn McCool and their home. Now, as any good giant, Finn McCool had his work to do, so he was often away from home. Lovely Ona didn't seem to mind, for there was plenty to keep her own hands busy, spinning and knitting and even giving a pretty touch to their great house. Life was very pleasant indeed. One morning, when Finn McCool was busy working with his kin, which is another word for family, building a causeway to Scotland, the word came that Cuchulainn was coming. Cuchulainn was a giant too, and without a doubt the strongest in that part of the world. When he walked, the very earth trembled, and with one blow of his fist he had flattened a thunderbolt so it looked like a pancake. He was so proud of that feat or that accomplishment that he kept the thunderbolt in his pocket to show all just how strong he was. Every giant in Ireland had been given a good beating by Cuchulainn. Every giant, that is, except Finn McCool. And Cuchulainn swore by the green that he would never rest, day or night, winter or summer, until Finn McCool was added to his list. So far, Finn had been smart enough. He kept moving about whenever he heard the Cuchulainn was in the neighborhood. But this time Cuchulainn was sure to get him. So Finn left the causeway and sped off for Knockmany Hill, which was his house, and his darling Ona. Finn, my love, said Ona, greeting him at the door. What brings you home so early from your work? The chance to get a sight of you, my sweet thing, said Finn. Since he was as honest as the summer day is long, he added, and to keep out of the way of Cuchulainn. He's after me. Ona soothed her husband. She brought him slippers and lit a pipe for him. She stirred up the peat fire so it would be cozy. Then she set down a huge mug of stout and cut a gigantic slab of soda bread for her dearie. Finn, husband of mine, enough is enough, said Ona as gently as she could. For years you've been hiking around from one place to another to avoid this Cuchulainn. Why, you even built our house high on this windiest of hills so you'd be able to spy him a-comin'. You'll not get a moment's rest until you stand fast and face him. Aye, I'll be getting plenty of rest if I stand fast and he knocks me down. And I don't have the heart to face a man who can make a young earthquake just with his walk, and who carries around a flattened thunderbolt in his pocket just to prove his strength. At that, Knockmany Hill gave a little dance. He's coming, said Finn, his face turning a fine shade of pale green. Now hush, said Ona, and give me time to think. Do you worry that I won't do all I can to help you settle this matter once and for all? Ona then worked her charm the fairies had taught her. She took 9 woolen threads, each a different color, and braided them into 3 braids. She put one around her right arm, one circling her heart, and the third around the right ankle. Now nothing she did could fail. Next, she sent around to all the neighbors to borrow 1 and 20 iron frying pans, or 21 frying pans. She hid them in 1 and 21 loaves of bread. So she put the frying pans in the bread that she baked on the fire in the usual way. She set them in the cupboard with some bread she had baked the day before. She then took a pot of milk and made it into a fresh, wet cheese and put it along with some white stones at the foot of the cradle she had made up. Okay, look at Finn's clothes now. He's dressed up in something different. Now, my darling, she said, handing Finn some baby clothes, put these on and do everything just as I'm about to tell you. And remember, she said at the last, Cuchulain's strength lies in his brass finger he has on his right hand. Now, quick into the cradle, because I hear that man mountain at the door. So we learn here that the giant's strength is in his right finger. All right, woman, bellowed the giant at the door. Where's that coward Finn McCool that I've been chasing after all this time? Well, well, said Ona with her sweetest smile. Now isn't that a shame? Finn was off working at the causeway when some important family affair called him away, but he'll be home by tea time, so why don't you just come right in and sit down? Poor Finn trembled in the cradle. See this, Cuchulain said, pulling what looked like a pancake out of his pocket. This was a thunderbolt until I caught it and flattened it, and that's what I'm going to do to Finn McCool too. Tisk tisk, said Ona. That may not be as easy as you think. Finn McCool's a big broth of a man. Why, take a look at our little baby, and you might be getting an idea of the strength and breadth of Finn himself. Cuchulain peeked in the cradle. Chirp, said the huge baby, looking back at him. My, said Cuchulain, what a big boy! While you're waiting, why not have a bite to eat, said Ona. She put some loaves of bread on the table, along with a can or two of butter and a pile of cabbage. Cuchulain was as much a glutton as he was a bully. Glutton means you eat too much. Popped a loaf into his mouth and took a huge bite, right down on one of the frying pans. Clang! Yo! Shouted Cuchulain. What kind of devil's bread is this? Here are 2 of my teeth out. That's Finn's bread, the only kind he eats, said Ona. Is it a bit too tough for you? Too tough for me, shouted Cuchulain. I should say not. Just give me another. Cuchulain chomped into another loaf and into another frying pan. I'll not have a tooth left in my mouth, woman. There's 2 more out, Cuchulain hollered even louder. The baby began to holler too. Hungry, hungry, hungry. Ah, sweet dumpling, said Ona, and she handed baby Finn a loaf. And because there was no frying pan in it, Finn ate it right down. More, said the baby, and he gobbled up another loaf. He seems a strong lad, said Cuchulain, getting a little worried. If this was the baby, the father must indeed be a bit stronger than Cuchulain thought. Ah, yes, said Ona, beaming. Why, instead of dollies, he loves to play with those white stones there in his cradle. Show the nice man, baby dear. Finn did as he was told. He picked up a stone that was really the cheese and squeezed all the water out of it and popped it into his mouth and ate it. Cuchulain was not to be outdone by a baby. He grabbed a stone and squeezed. He squeezed and squeezed. As squeeze as he might, he couldn't get 1 drop of water out of it. He popped it into his mouth, and with a chomp, there went the rest of his teeth. The howl that came out of him almost broke all the windows. When he finally calmed down, Cuchulain said to Ona, "What kind of teeth does that lad have? They must be made of iron. Let me see your chompers, baby." At that, baby Finn opened wide his mouth and Cuchulain stuck his brass finger in, and the very brass finger that was the secret of his strength. Look what's about to happen. With a strong bite, Finn McCool bit the brass finger right off. Then up Finn leapt and began to pound the daylights out of poor, weak Cucullin. That was that. Out the door went Cucullin, never to bother anyone ever again, let alone Finn McCool. "Tea's ready, my love," said Ona, and Finn McCool sat down with the best giant wife in the whole world, and they lived a long, happy life. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope you enjoyed it. I do think it is an AR book, so check it out and have a wonderful rest of the year. Bye, guys.